Hello, I'm Michael Burleson, and today I'll be talking about the effect that a likable leader has on employee performance and job satisfaction. The idea for this research came to me when reading a article from Adam Ekman in 2020 uh, that he was speaking about a Gallup poll where he found that 2 out of 10 employees, only 2 out of 10 employees felt strongly they were managed effectively. This also found that 85% of global employees are either not engaged or actively disengaged at work. And from the survey, it was also found that 70% of employee engagement seems to be driven by leadership. It seems that employees know the importance of an effective manager, as they tend to define their work experience based on relationship with management more than anything else in the workplace. The quality of management has also become more important than compensation for employees. Now, this is not to say that compensation doesn't matter, but when compensation is relatively the same, newer employees, younger employees will select the more quality management over just pay. Now, this leads to the question of what characteristics do employees desire the most in their manager? Answer to this can be found in multiple places, but one from Wilson 2004, where he found that through asking employees to describe their ideal manager, they identified being personable, indicative of effective managers. Being personable means being likable or pleasant, friendly, and easy to like, according to the Oxford Dictionary. A manager's likability seems to be more important than their competency when it comes to overall organizational effectiveness. Um, Additionally, likability seems to be more important than a manager's IQ or emotional IQ when it comes to project success. There is also a positive relationship between levels of likability and persuasion attempts. Now, this is probably because they both go hand in hand, as the more you like somebody, the more you're willing to work with them and compromise. But this is very important when it comes to managers getting the most out of their employees. So, because of this, seems plausible to argue that likability should be heavily considered when selecting new leaders. In theory, likable leaders or managers will foster more positive relationships with their employees, be more successful in their persuasion attempts because of these strong relationships and their likability, and because of this, see increased job performance from employees, which then should raise levels of job satisfaction. This leads to the three hypotheses I had, which aim to discover if there's a relationship between the likability of a manager and their employees' performance or job satisfaction, as well as these levels of job satisfaction have a relationship with levels of job performance. Hypothesis one is increased manager likability will have a positive effect on employees' job performance. Uh, Hypothesis two, increased manager likability will have a positive effect on employees' job satisfaction. And to observe the effect between these two as a possible third variable, job satisfaction will have a positive relationship with employees' job performance. Now, the method for this study involved a convenience sample, or form of it at least, in the sense that I used 4 local ABC Toyota car dealerships. These dealerships are all within the same region. They offer the same vehicles and ideally or hypothetically the same population of customers. This means that hopefully all the opportunities for sales and the actual resulting sales are similar. Um, every dealership had a sales manager that was responsible for 5 sales team members, resulting in a population of 20 as every participant chose to participate. To measure levels of employee job satisfaction, we use the job satisfaction survey, which uses a Likert scale to determine overall job satisfaction. It asks a dozen or so questions relating to job satisfaction, relating to pay, um, you know, social interactions in the workplace, to spit out an overall score. Employee job performance was determined using the sales records from the last year. These are going to be displayed in the dollar amount in thousands for total sales. And ratings manager likability came from us asking the question, how likable would you rate your current manager? And then from that, participants rated on a Likert scale, 1 being not at all likable to 5 being very likable, to get our measure of manager likability. During this process, we had to have cooperation from ABC Toyota, which we're thankful for, as they had to release the sales records to us, and the individual employees had to sign off on these sales records being disclosed to us. Uh, these were de-identified. However, I did have to have access to match up sales records to participants' responses. So in that sense, they were not de-identified until after the statistical analyses have been run. However, after all statistical analyses have been run, this uh, identifiable information was destroyed. Sales records were destroyed, no longer held on to. Participants were given a $25 gift card for their participation in this study. Our descriptive statistics returned a mean and median of 3 for job satisfaction, or our scores of job satisfaction from that job satisfaction survey. Manager likability, that one question we had, returned a mean of 2.9 and a median of 3. These show validity, as our measures of job satisfaction, manager likability uh, appear to be valid, as responses were not significantly skewed. If they were skewed, if people were being inauthentic and their ratings of how much like their manager, you'd either see it high, saying they like their manager a lot, but these numbers suggest that we have an average of 3, which is kind of where you'd hope to be with these type of questions. To analyze our results, we used SPSS, where we calculated Pearson's correlation coefficients to compare across the populations. This was done at a significance level of 0.01 due to the one-tailed nature of hypothesis, meaning we were only interested in the effects and the positive effects, but uh, we also used this significance level because we wanted to make sure that if there was an interaction or an effect, that we saw it and did not miss it. Our critical value was 0.516 due to our 18 degrees of freedom. From these correlations, we were able to support hypothesis 1, as manager likability seemed to have a significantly strong and positive association with employee sales performance, as that came out at 0.9. Hypothesis 2 was also supported, as manager likability was associated with higher levels of job satisfaction, as there was a moderately positive correlation of 0.63. And then hypothesis 3 was supported as well, as we found a significantly strong positive association of 0.83 between employee job satisfaction and employee performance. This is from these, we were able to conclude that job satisfaction appears to be more dependent on job performance than manager likability. However, job performance is significantly affected by manager likability, which leads us to the idea that likability of a manager influences employee job satisfaction through increased levels of job performance, meaning it's possible that employee job satisfaction is being raised because job performance is being raised due to a likable manager. Future research on this should take an experimental approach, as because this study is correlational, no causation can be drawn from its findings. This is because we cannot determine directionality of effects, and as well as the fact that the participants are rating managers, whereas in a experimental study, we can have independent raters rate manager likability, get a more accurate measure, a more accurate idea of how likable managers actually are. Additionally, experimental research would be able to isolate variables and kind of separate out job satisfaction, job performance, and then manager likability from those as well. Additionally, more research needs to be performed on the interaction between job satisfaction and job performance, as other studies such as Burhanuddin and Ardianto 2024 found no significant interaction between job satisfaction and job performance. This could be due to a third variable influencing the two, such as pay, or even manager likability itself. But as stated, because of the correlational nature of this study, we don't really have an idea. We can't make any um, causal conclusions. To wrap this all up, the presence of likable managers seems to be related to an increase in employee job performance and job satisfaction. Job satisfaction for us had a positive relationship with job performance. It is plausible that a likable manager increases job satisfaction through the positive effect it has with job performance. Organizations, because of this, should weigh likability more heavily than IQ or emotional IQ when selecting individuals for manager positions. As touched on earlier, it's possible that likability should even be weighed more heavily than extroversion in when selecting for management positions. This adds to the existing literature of the effect that managers can have on employees' job satisfaction and job performance. And this also suggests that selection methods are better selection methods are needed to identify and select leaders at a time where a majority of employees are dissatisfied with their work experience. This is very important to today's organizations as their most important resource is their human resources. And if they are not being satisfied, not performing up to their standards, companies are not getting the most they can out of their employees. And of more importance, the individual employee, their experience is not as good as it could be in the work environment. And raising their experience at work can raise the experience, their overall life experience. Right here's a slide of my references. If I can send you links if anybody has any questions about them. And yeah, I want to thank you all for listening. If you have any questions, please let me know.